Welcome on to tip number 1. So stressed, here is my 3 app ways to get rid of your stress. Have you ever felt as if you were going downwards on your spiral of life? Well, 14 years ago, that's exactly how I felt. I moved with my husband and 2 little kids. They were just 2 and 4. From South Africa all the way to the UK. I had to come in and work in a new school as a teacher. And I had to be living in a new culture with a new environment with all my friends and family back home. So you can imagine how I was feeling. My mind was in problem-making mode and I could just not see the light. My emotions and my feelings affected my husband Anesh and both my kids. And I knew I had to do something. I knew I had to stand up tall and I had to empower myself. Now that was a seed I planted and I invested in myself, and it was the start of my journey as a clinical hypnotherapist and a rapid transformational practitioner. Now I use a range of tools to help my clients calibrate their mindsets and also learn about how to get back their confidence and their self-worth. Because when you don't have your confidence and your self-worth in your personal life or even in your work life, you'd find that you will get to your destination much more longer. The journey would be much more longer. And I know you must be shaking your heads because you've all experienced this. And I also work with entrepreneurs and businesses. I use my mindset hurdle compass audit, where I go into companies and I teach leaders and even their staff about mental and emotional well-being. We make it a priority. Now, I specialize in stress, anxiety, and depression, which I refer to as the sad thug, because stress, anxiety, and depression strips 99% of people that suffer with any problems. Their problems stem from stress, anxiety, and depression. And it steals away their happiness and their success. Now, I'm really excited to share my 3 app ways of getting rid of your stress and taking back control. So A for authenticity, P for procrastination, and the other P is practical tools. Now let's move on to the first one, which is tip number 1, authenticity. So whatever the reason, gosh, it skipped there. So whatever the reason, you need to make sure that you find your practical ways, practical tools to learn how to get to know yourself. Now, stress is an emotional and mental tension that starts to brew in your body. Now, your stress levels are actually determined by how you respond to your physical environment and how you respond and process it internally. Now, when we don't have the tools to process these feelings and these emotions that we are experiencing in our negative environments, then we start to go down these spirals in our lives and we start to take on board stress that takes over. Your level of stress is determined by how you respond to your physical. Your level of stress is determined to how you respond to your physical environment and how you process that internally. So if you are living in a very negative, stressful external environment, when you process those feelings internally, it comes into the body as tension. And when we do not take this tension in our body seriously, it actually develops into, yes, illness in the body. So one of the ways to bring upon unnecessary stress, to actually eliminate stress from happening in your life, is to learn how to be authentic. Authenticity is so imperative in learning how to be your true self. Now, are you your true self? That's a question that you need to answer. Now, one of my favorite poets in the 1500s was William Shakespeare. Now, something that I have a magnet on and it's stuck into my fridge is know thyself and be true to thine. So, what this actually means is you need to get to know who you are and you need to be true to who you are. Get to know yourself and be true to yourself. How do we go about doing this? Let's see. Now, being authentic is actually a very true gift that you could give yourself. When you are authentic, you are able to pass on that beautiful energies to other people. There are too many false people out there. When you look at social media, everybody's trying to be like the person that you see on social media. You want to be like social influencers. People are following trends, and they want to follow these trends because that's what makes them trendy. But when you are trying to be trendy, you are moving further and further away from your true, authentic self. Now, if you need and you want to be happy, you need to learn who you are and learn about how you tick and learn how to be authentic. Now, the first one here I have is don't try to fit in somebody else's shoe. I see my niece's baby coming home and he wants to wear the shoes that we are using. But when he tries to put his feet into those shoes, he starts to wobble. Yes, he starts to wobble, and he ends up falling over because those shoes do not fit him. Now, whenever you try to fit into somebody else's shoe, you wouldn't be happy. Why? Because that shoe might be too tight, it may be too uncomfortable, it might cause blisters, and so on. But on a more figurative level, when you try to fit into somebody else's shoe, you just drown yourself with trying to please and you end up becoming a people, you end up not. Do not try to fit into somebody else's shoe or somebody else's box because you will never fit. It's theirs. When you do this, you are being less authentic to your own self and you're taking away that gift of your self-worth. Now, let's look at the second one. If you are one of these people that love to please other people, you love to be the people pleaser, you need to stop. Because when you are a people pleaser, you work twice as hard just to please people that don't appreciate you or your self-worth. So please stop being a doormat. Stop being a people pleaser. We don't need to please other people because if they are undervaluing us and we in turn undervalue ourselves, then we are not doing justice to who we are. Now, agreeing to do things with the intention of seeking approval will always flood us with overwhelming feelings, and these overwhelming feelings lead to, stress. Sometimes some people are scared of being different. Now, do you know being different is the most unique gift? And it is such a beautiful feeling of being. Oops, I need to erase this. And the fourth way of being authentic is to quit being a follower. Know that you can also be a leader. Now, life is a game. Some of us think of life as a game. Do you want to always follow or do you want to be right at the forefront? Do you want to be the early bird that catches the worm? Do you want to be at the forefront, be the leader? Now, one way of being authentic is to be the leader. Learn how to lead, learn your skills, learn what you're good at. And if you're not good at leading, there's always ways to practice. And when you put yourselves in positions of leadership, you'd find that you will learn about your true, unique self. You will realize your self-worth. And one very important thing, you will learn how to say no. Because if you can learn how to say no, then you are definitely snapping out of being the follower and starting to be your own leader. And that, to me, is empowerment. Now, I have activity for you. We're going to do this task, and what you need is a paper plate. Yes, you need a paper plate. Now, this paper plate is no ordinary paper plate. We are going to acknowledge your level of stress. I have a downloadable attachment to this, to tip number 1, which is this paper plate. If you don't have a real paper plate at home, you can just print it off, trim it, and voila, that becomes your paper plate. Now, what we want to do is, you want to be specific. I want you to jot down all the things that are stresses in your life. We call them stresses because they add stress to your life. So things like, for example, if you get stuck in traffic every day, that stresses you out. Put it down on this paper plate. If you are constantly not having enough money, jot it down here. If you're getting dinner ready and that stresses you out, put it down on this paper plate. If you do not have a big enough desk at your office, that can cause stress, office stress. If you have work colleagues that gossip about you or other people and that's stressing you out, because I know that can stress me out, you can put it down. If you feel that you are overworked and underpaid, put this down. If you feel that your partner drinks too much and you know that they have a problem, but you don't know how to tell them and it's stressing you out, put it down on this paper plate. Also, if you feel like you're a taxi driver to your children, I know when my kids were growing up, I felt like that too. Put it down. And whatever you have, put it down. And I know by the time you finish this paper plate activity, wow, you'll be wow, because you would be, and you would feel quite overwhelmed. Don't worry. I'm going to show you how to get rid of it. So don't worry. What we first need to do is we first need to take an audit of our stress. Because if we don't know what is stressing us out, how are we going to remove those stresses in our life? So you're going to use this unique technique of brain dumping. Whatever stress is in here, put it down on this paper plate. And I know it might feel overwhelming, but just press a pause on that because I'm going to show you the real tools to get rid of it. You can stick this onto a vision board. You can put this onto your fridge, just so that you can see that your plate isn't empty and you have reason to be stressed. But how we deal with those stresses is all dependent on the tools that you have. So I'm really excited for you to do the first task. Do not go into the second video. Do not go into tip number 2 because you need to finish this task first. Enjoy. Do not become overwhelmed, but just realize that your reality will help you to heal. So that brings us to the end of the first of the 3 app ways, which is authenticity. And these are brilliant ways in knowing that you can be unique to your own self.